Moving to a new country requires a lot of pre-planning. And one crucial thing we need to know is what is the cost of living versus the actual money we can expect from our salary. In this video, we will talk about the average cost of living in Germany in 2025. We will break it down into different sections like rent, electricity, groceries, transportation, lifestyle, and many other expenses that you might not have considered before. We will look at average numbers, and to paint a real picture, we will reveal our actual cost of living so you can actually have an idea from a real example. And if you're moving to Germany soon, then check out our onboarding kit, which is a pre-built task manager that we created for you, where you can check off every item that you need to do before you move to Germany and after you move, so you never miss any crucial step. Everything is laid out in an order, and you will have also access to essential links in each step, so you don't feel overwhelmed and you can tackle things one by one. You can check it out in the description box below. Hey, my name is Jen and I'm from Guatemala.
And mine is Yvonne and I'm German.
And together we're from simplegermany.com, where we create English content to empower internationals to settle into life in Germany more smoothly.
Let's jump right into the cost of living. But a quick disclaimer is that this number or these costs that we're talking about are based on employees without children. The reason being is that employees don't need to pay for their health insurance extra because it's already taken away from their salary before you even get it in your bank account. And childcare is highly relevant on where you live in Germany, whether you need to pay for it or it is actually free in the state you live in. So if you have children, please do your own research and add a little extra to the cost of living we are presenting to you. Throughout this video, we will move from the areas in life that take the most amount of our salary to the ones that potentially take the least. And number one bucket that takes the most amount of all of the salaries of people living in Germany is housing and energy. And in that bucket, the biggest chunk is rent.
One important thing to point out before we jump into the costs is that Germany is a land of renters, and your probability of actually renting an apartment here versus buying a house or an apartment is a lot higher. So meaning rent will need to be considered into your cost of living.
As a first rule of thumb, your rental costs should not exceed 30 to maximum 40% of your net salary in Germany to still allow a comfortable life beyond that expense.
Yes, and additional to that is that larger cities tend to have higher rent, but therefore also usually higher salaries as well.
And when doing your own research, I just want to put out a big disclaimer. If we look at average rent prices that are being reported by all of the, let's say, German news websites, it's very misleading because those are the average rental prices that we are currently paying. And there's a very big difference between a rental contract and hence a price that someone started 10, 20 years ago versus if you're looking for a new apartment to rent, like not new in terms of the apartment is new, but like a new rental contract this year, for example, because rent is increasing just like everything in life. And yeah, contracts from 20 years ago that are still part of the average price, are impossible to achieve these days, which is why for our cost of living, we are looking at actual reported rent prices in a platform called Numbeo, where you can also get a general gist of cost of living. And we picked out the 7 biggest, most favorited cities of internationals in Germany to give you a better understanding.
Yes, and additional to that, you have compared those prices to actually searching online for these apartments in these cities, and you were able to confirm that it's more or less it's accurate, the price.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And unfortunately, we don't have median prices, which I'm pretty sure some data scientists will say median price would have been much better. We have average prices because that's what Numbeo provides, and it still gives a ballpark of what to expect more or less. Mm-hmm. Okay, with all those disclaimers, let's jump into our table.
Let's look at the prices for rent for a 1-bedroom apartment in the city center and outside the city center of the 7 most popular international cities in Germany. Mind you, 1-bedroom on Numbeo means 2-room apartments in Germany, which are very sought after as well.
Yeah, so that means the living room counts as a room and the bedroom as a bedroom,
yes.
Right? So here is a table, and feel free to pause it to actually read in detail how much prices are in each city. We will just give you a little bit of an overview of what our observations are for the prices. As we can see, Berlin is number 1 on the list because it's the most popular city where people move to in Germany. And this one is the 3rd most expensive city, actually. For the longest time, I know this myth has been going on for many, many years, and it's no longer the case.
But that's been busted already 10 years ago. That it's a cheap city to live in.
Yeah, Berlin is not a cheap city to live in. Food-wise, maybe, but in terms of rent, it is not. And of course, Munich still holds the number 1 place as the most expensive city to live in Germany.
Yeah, but most importantly, I think what's crucial to point out is if you want to live in the city center, you need to expect to pay minimum 1,000 euros per rent, You can find cheaper apartments, but those are usually not in the city center.
And also interesting point to point out is that the cheapest rent in this research is actually Düsseldorf, the city that we live in. I think Düsseldorf is very underrated. And
Not
I would
anymore.
say, not anymore, probably. However, I would also like to point out, because Düsseldorf is not as big as a city as Berlin, job opportunities tend to be a little bit less than a city like Berlin, for example.
Yeah, of course. And when we look at larger apartments with 3 bedrooms listed on Numbeo, which again means 4 rooms if you're looking for apartments in Germany, so living room plus 3 bedrooms, then, I mean, it's kind of obvious, but rent almost doubles regardless of where you're living, or like in the city center or outside the city center, and also per city. There are some nuances to it, but again, feel free to pause the video and look at the numbers yourself. But apartment being almost twice the size kind of like equals into rent being twice the size, because rental prices are measured by the square meters that the apartment has.
Yes, exactly. And such an apartment is ideal for families. For example, as a single person, I think it's a luxury to think that you can rent 3 bedrooms and 1 living room or 4-room apartment in Germany, because, like you said, it's very expensive.
And just to point out again, these prices are really for the 7 biggest cities, not biggest, but most popular cities for internationals that are also part of the top 10 most expensive cities in Germany. So if you have a job or would like to live in a, let's say, less frequented area, then most likely rent will also be decreased. We know a couple that lives, for example, in Bochum, which is about 30 to 60 minutes here from Düsseldorf, and the rent is by far not as high as it is in Düsseldorf. So there's always room to play around with depending on where you would like to live.
And also to point the other way around, we know a couple that doesn't work in Düsseldorf. Actually, they work in 2 different areas outside of Düsseldorf, and they decide to live in Düsseldorf because, again, Düsseldorf is a bigger city. So, of course, you have a lot more cultural and social events that you can attend to versus if you live in a small city. So it's kind of like things that you need to see what you are able to trade. What's the trade-off?
Yeah, what lifestyle you want to live, right?
Exactly. And of course, the price of an apartment depends on so many factors, like the condition of the apartment, location, and all these things. And we have a video that we go into detail of what affects apartment prices, which you can check in the description box below.
The second item in the housing and energy bucket is a little bit of a hidden cost that we would like to point out, and that is the so-called Rundfunkbeitrag, which stands for the radio and TV tax in Germany. Well, licensing fee, that would be the correct way to pronounce it, yes. And that equals 55.08 euros per quarter, which we usually pay it quarterly. So for our monthly cost calculation, that would be 18.36 euros. Now, this is something that needs to be paid per household and not per person. So that's also very important to point out.
Yes, and again, if you're wondering what the hell is this, we have another video going into detail about the Rundfunkbeitrag, which we'll also link in the description box below. Now going to the third item into housing and energy is energy, electricity. Electricity usually is not included in your rental price. Other utilities are like heating and trash collection and things like that, but electricity usually is not. And also, interestingly enough, actually, Germany has the most expensive electricity price in all of Europe, I believe, according to the last research. But worry not, it is still possible to pay electricity. And here is a little bit overview of how much it costs.
So electricity price depends on your consumption. And the average consumption for a single person is around 1,500 kilowatt hours per year, which equals 55 euros per month. Currently.
Yes, that means the average price as of January 2025 is 36.5 cents per kilowatt hour.
For 2 people, the average consumption is set at 2,500 kilowatt hours, which equals 92 euros per month, and 3 people at 3,500 kilowatt hours, which equals 128 euros per month.
I wanted to say, of course, the consumption of electricity highly depends on your lifestyle and what you're doing with the electricity. If you are like my brother-in-law, who has a whole kind of like what do you call this, like a woodworking station with a lot of electrical appliances that he uses, of course it's going to be higher, right?
Yes, there's multiple factors, definitely. But just again, to give you a real life example, we are 2 people and we pay per month 70 euros in electricity. And we use Ostrom as a provider, which we also link in the description. They provide everything in English. They have green energy. They have a very good price and it's super transparent.
Yes, and also we pay 70 euros and we are almost 24/7 at home. We work from home. We record these videos at home. We cook at home. So I would say that gives an estimation of a lot of consumption in the house. If you're finding the contents of this video helpful, then make sure to give us a like and subscribe to our channel if you want to keep up to date with all the videos that we release in terms of moving to and settling to life in Germany more smoothly. Our second bucket is food and drinks. Yum, yum.
And that mainly consists of grocery shopping at the supermarket. In our research, we could only find latest official statistics from 2022 because data always takes time when it comes to like official country data. So that is why we reached out to our followers on Instagram and started a bit of a poll to ask for their average cost for groceries per month, how many people, etc. pp. Do you say pp?
What is pp?
Etc. pp is a very German saying.
We don't say pp, but anyways, let's throw the numbers on this screen. And here we have that the average grocery cost per household is 410 euros per month. The median, this time we do have a median number, grocery cost per household is 375 euros per month. And here's a little bit of an average cost breakdown by household. So if you're one person, you can estimate 227 euros, two people, 480 euros, three people, 629 euros. 4 people, the jump is actually not that big, 690 euros, and 5 people, which is a really big family, 892 euros.
For German standards, a really big family.
It's a really big family, yeah. And of course, this highly depends on your lifestyle and what you like to shop for. And also interesting to point out is that vegan and vegetarian options in supermarkets in Germany tend to be a little bit pricier, but not ultra more expensive. We have people that participated in the survey and they did the disclaimer, I am vegan or I'm vegetarian, and their cost was similar to those who had the same household number. So that was super interesting.
Factors that influence the money that you spend is also where you buy, whether you're buying at discount supermarkets, which are very popular in Germany, like Aldi, Lidl, Netto, or Penny, or at the, let's say, premium supermarkets such as Edeka, Rewe, or even like Kaufland, the hypermarkets.
Yes, or if you go to the market and actually buy, because in certain cities, per neighborhood, there are markets that arrive at a certain time.
Farmers market.
Farmers market, and there you can also purchase. And there, of course, certain products tend to be a little bit more expensive because they come directly from the farmer.
And one more aspect, of course, is always how often do you eat at home when it comes to groceries versus how often do you eat out, like let's say in the Mensa at the company or also go out for dinners.
Mensa is a canteen. It's like where the food is being served, right? And to share our costs, we pay 700 euros a month on our groceries. And mind you, we cook 3 meals at home, plus our protein shake. So you could say 4 meals at home. We mainly buy at the farmer's market. Then things that we don't find there, we go to the discounter Aldi. And things that we don't find there or the farmer's market, we go to Rewe, which is the next level supermarket. Now for the third bucket, and that is transportation. How do you move around in Germany?
So actually, this is the third largest expense in German households because the majority of German households has a car. And cars tend to cost more per month than using public transportation. However, if you need a Germany, only if you live in remote areas do you actually need a car. And the most popular way to move around is with public transportation. And here the Deutschland ticket, which is a monthly pass that gives you access to all of the local transportation, costs 58 euros a month.
Yes, and even there, you can actually estimate, do you use the Deutschland, to use 58 euros a month worth of transportation, or you can buy single tickets, or tenner tickets is very popular in Germany, like a 10-pack, and that averages to how much, like 3.20 euros, I think, per ride?
But I mean, to calculate what is your max expense, 58
is a max. It's
good
a
place to start, yeah. But to give full transparency about the car, we own a car now for 4 years. We lived the first 8 years in Düsseldorf without owning a car. And we spend approximately 250 euros on it per month. And that is an average that includes insurance, taxes, like inspections, like maintenance. Gas. It does not include the cost for buying the car. That is
something
different.
Yes, or a monthly payment for the car.
Yeah, or
right?
leasing the car, yeah.
And now for the 4 bucket is lifestyle, which to be honest is a little bit hard to estimate or to put a number because we are all very different people. However, there are certain things that I believe we all still need. For example, a haircut. I do know internationals that they actually wait until they travel home to get their haircut. However, I am not one of those. I get my haircut here, especially with short hair. I need it more often. And when I go to the hair cutter, to my friseur, I pay 45 euros for the haircut, which includes washing and cutting, sometimes drying, she dries it, and what is super cool, a second washing, because I have such thick hair that after the haircut, it's all itchy, but she washes it for a second time, which is super nice. And also tip, of course, because in Germany, you usually tip service providers like friseur. How do you say friseur?
Friseur. Hairdressers.
Hairdressers, thank you very much.
I would pay exactly the same amount. It's just about cutting the hair. But if you are into getting colors, or in Germany you say Strähnchen, if you get like highlighters.
Highlights, yeah.
That, of course, actually increases the price tremendously.
Yes, definitely. So, of course, the more advanced things you want, the more expensive it is. And in Germany, you can pay a lot, actually, for these things. Maybe too much.
Another thing, just as a lifestyle expense, we would like to give as an example is going to a gym. And here, what is super popular is something that's called urban sports clubs, which doesn't give you just access to one gym, but pretty much to all of these sports offer that a city offers. So you can be more diverse between sports and also the gyms that you go to. And the lowest tier that gives you access once per week to any of those facilities costs 33 euros at the time of recording.
Yes, and to be also fully transparent, we have a home gym, so we don't pay a monthly fee to go to a gym. So that's also another option, right? Another one is, depending whether you love movies or not, is to actually go out to the movies. And here, based on the current data of 2025, a 3D movie, which usually original versions, meaning that the movie is actually portrayed, or how do you say, shown in English, tend to be 3D, not always, but most of the time. And the most expensive, which is 3D, is 13.50 euros per ticket. This does not include popcorn or beverages, which also might increase the price.
And arguably one of the biggest lifestyle expenses next to travel, but we don't talk about that because that is so individual. Eating out, I think we can all agree on, we all like to do, especially when living in big international cities. And here are two examples. One for the most favorite German street food, which is the Döner kebab. And in 2025, well, 4 actually, I think are the numbers from, yes, based on 2024, the Döner has gotten a price of around 7 euros. Again, average price depending on where you eat, but that is what you can calculate.
Interesting. And if you go out to a restaurant, for example, we love to go to this one burger restaurant called Bob and Mary's here in Düsseldorf. There we get a burger each. We each get a set of French fries and a non-alcoholic beer or a drink, which sometimes the non-alcoholic beer is more expensive than the one with alcohol. But anyways, and there in total, we usually pay 53 euros, including tip. As well, tip is a thing that you don't actually give a lot of tip. We have a whole video talking about how the tipping culture in Germany works, which you can check out in the description box below as well if you're interested.
Bucket number 5 is telecommunications. And here we have 2 different items. The first one is home internet. And the average in Germany for home internet is actually 31 euros per month. Now, we pay a little bit more. We actually pay 45 euros per month. And that is because we have one of the highest, fastest lines of internet, because we pay here by tier how fast your speed is. We have a 1000 cable line with Vodafone, which if you're interested, we also link in the description box below. And we need that because we would like to continue uploading beautiful 4K videos for you.
That doesn't take like 3 hours to do so. I mean, 3 days.
Meaning if you are a regular private user, you don't need a 1000 line, and I would say 200, even 300 is more than enough.
Depends on what you're doing, but yeah. Another one is, of course, phone, and not like the physical device, but actually your SIM card. An average in Germany, people pay 16 euros a month for such a service, which I think is relatively cheap. Now, what we pay is different because I have a very old contract with Vodafone. I would say at this point it's like 13 years old. And I get, let me read that, I pay 21 euros a month for 23 gigabytes. So that's my deal, and that's what I have. You have something different. You have a prepaid SIM card. Postpaid SIM card, which gives you 15 gigabytes a month for only 9 euros. And you have yours with Simon Mobile, and I have mine with Vodafone. And we link also both of them. You're interested in the description box below.
And bucket number 6 is insurance, because living in Germany, we need to talk about insurance because there is at least one you need to have, at least you should have, especially when moving freshly. And that is private liability insurance. Why it's important? Again, watch the video in description, out of the scope of this video, but it only costs you around 5 euros per month. So it's an absolute no-brainer to not get it. And we have it for the both of us, and we pay 6.60 euros for the both of us as a couple, and our provider is Feather Insurance.
Additional to that, we have home contents insurance, and it makes sense for us because of our recording equipment. I would say that we need to make these videos, and that's why home contents insurance is a no-brainer for us. And that we pay 17.50 euros a month. And that covers in case of theft or actually damages to our things at home, including our bikes as well, right? And our insurance provider in this case is GetSafe, which is also like Feather Insurance, fully digital in English, no paperwork. You can cancel monthly. It's beautiful.
Another insurance that we have that is also popular with other internationals is legal insurance, and there we pay 22 euros a month. And both also Feather and GetSafe offer those in English. Feather directly, you can book it online, and GetSafe is via a phone consultation.
Okay, now for the juicy moment where we will reveal our total cost of living. Yvonne claims that you probably were there sitting with your calculator, adding things up, but I disagree, and this is the total lowdown. Drum roll. So here we have on the screen, we added all of the cost of living that we just mentioned, because we didn't say how much we pay for rent,
That's
for
true.
example. And our total cost of living per month for 2 people living outside the city center of Düsseldorf is 2,716 euros. And this includes, I feel like, I don't need anything else. This includes pretty much all of my lifestyle and everything that I
Well,
need.
that's not true. It doesn't include our travel, but it includes the, let's say,
Daily cost of living.
the necessities, daily cost of living without, travel and...
True. It doesn't include splurge money to do on travel or buying the new board game or stuff like that. That is for sure.
But I would say it's a super safe number to say that for a couple, 2,500 to 3,000 euros is a very comfortable life in Germany that you can live with. And maybe you should also strive for in terms of salary, plus a little extra for splurge.
And we also went ahead and created a different table where we don't take our example, but we take all the average cost of living in Germany as shown by statistics and different research. And this is what the cost of living for one person living in Düsseldorf, based on that rent of Düsseldorf, would cost. And in total, adding some lifestyle choices as well, we can say that for a single person is 1,541 euros. So kind of like what Germans say, Pi mal Daumen. So like the estimate could be for a single person, around 1,500 euros is a really good amount to have a good lifestyle.
It's definitely a great place to start, yes.
Yeah.
So these numbers hopefully give you a bit of an idea. In general, we can say if you live a little bit below the average, you can start with 1,000 euros living in Germany. You can go up to 3,000 or beyond, depending on your lifestyle, the city you live in, and also, of course, how many family members you are supporting or you're living with. Recently met a couple from India who moved to Germany on the Chancenkarte. If you want to know more about their story, because they did get the job and got the blue card, we will also link that video in the description below. And they managed to live off the blocked amount that they actually need to get the Chancenkarte. And that is 2,182 euros per month. And they did not need any extra money to support their lifestyle.
Including purchasing beer, mind you, from the supermarket as well. So it also has some luxuries included, right? Now that you have hopefully a better understanding what money in Germany will get you, it's also important to learn how much money will you actually get as your net salary, because some deductions are taken from your salary before it even hits your bank account. To learn more about that, you can watch our video here on the left. Until next time, cheers! If you're moving to Germany soon, we would like you... No. We will break down... What's going on?
I can also do it.
Do it.
Okay.
Take one.
From the one that takes the most amount to the one that, can take the least, but...